So you guys know I'm at this camp for home educators, for unschoolers, and every morning we have a morning meeting, and the topics that come up are so fascinating about child development and about the way that we think about children and education. And this morning a story was shared about maths and how much we've kind of ruined maths for children and for a lot of adults as well, by separating it into this box and then making it very much like a tick box exercise and reducing it down to some very dry things, when actually it's in like every single aspect of our lives. Like music is maths, for example, and instead we just force feed kids certain things to pass exams and just detach it from reality. Anyway, today they were talking about a social experiment, or kind of an educational experiment that happened, I think it was in the 30s, and a superintendent of this school had to basically remove a subject from the curriculum to make space for other things. And he decided, it was a primary school, and he decided to take maths out of the curriculum completely, which obviously to us seems nuts, like to conventional educators. And he took it out completely, and the only thing that these children did until year 6 was do some guesswork, so estimations. So they'd walk around and say like, oh, how tall do you think that is, or how long do you think that is? That was the only maths that they did in terms of separate to other subjects. And they tested these kids a few years later. Oh, by the way, this was in the 3 of the poorest schools in the city, and they tested them years later and compared them to the affluent schools who'd been doing maths all the way through. And apart from simple calculations like 63 plus 23, apart from in that area, they scored equal in conceptual mathematics to these other richer schools that had been doing maths as a subject for the whole time they're in primary. Then, because they needed to do some exams, they basically did half an hour of maths as a subject each day in the last year of their schooling, of their primary schooling. They tested them again, and they were equal to or above all of the children from more affluent schools who had been doing maths as a subject every day in their primary school education. Plus, the children who had not been doing maths for most of their primary school as a separate subject, and they'd been focusing more on basically speaking, because this is another thing he added in about enjoying storytelling and speaking the English language. They were way more confident at reading and enthusiastic about learning and volunteering what they'd been reading, because he said he went into the other schools and he asked 4th graders, so year 4, what books they'd been reading, and he said not one of the kids wanted to admit that they'd been reading a book. And in the other classes they were super enthusiastic and really enthusiastic about reading. So not only could it be not helpful to teach the way we do, it could actually be detrimental to separate this stuff and teach them so young. Stuff to think about, eh?